I hope you heard some good, encouraging words about our church from our newer members. And one thing I think is interesting is many of them have already started participating, which shows a good openness among us to welcome new people and to also let them find places to serve. And that speaks well. It also leads into an announcement. We do need ushers for second service. So that's the announcement. See John. And maybe some more greeters that can greet people as they come. So if you're interested in those, speak to John Mac Miller. Today we're going to preach on John chapter 6. We'll come back to Ephesians next week and finish off the book of Ephesians. John chapter 6 is read for like 4, 5, 6 weeks in our reading schedule. And it begins with the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. There was an early church father who said there is a God-shaped vacuum or void in the heart of every living person. A God-shaped void. But we know that people try to fill that God-shaped void with all sorts of things of this world, relationships perhaps, fame, fortune, money, careers, all that. But it's a God-shaped vacuum. And so your soul, if it could speak, would say, hey, I'm missing something here. I'm thirsty for something more. I'm hungry for something that this world just can't give me. And you're ignoring me. You're embezzling me. You know, if your soul could speak, the words of Jesus today would speak to your soul. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. He who believes in me and comes to me and consumes me, eats my flesh and drinks my blood, has life. So Jesus, when he says, I am the bread of life, he's trying to tell you he's that which gives you purpose and identity. Now, we try to fill our identity with athletic skill, academic achievements, our career, our money, our income, where we live, and things like that. All good things. But without God in the center, there's something missing. And Jesus speaks to that today. After feeding the 5,000 people, he sends the disciples across the lake, and he himself follows them on water later. And then the crowd says, well, where's this Jesus fellow? You know? And so they go around the lake and they find Jesus. And when they find Jesus, he says, hey, you're not here because you saw a sign of God in your midst. You're here because your bellies got filled and you want more. You see, they wanted just a product, not the producer of the product. They wanted the gift, but not the giver. And they missed out on a sign. You see, the spiritual and the physical, you and I separate from each other, do we not? You know, our physical life is, Monday through Saturday, and then we do a little bit of spiritual stuff on Sunday. We kind of separate those two. But ever since the beginning, God has wanted us to enjoy creation and enjoy Him. They weren't to be pitted against each other. In fact, even after we sinned, God, time and time again, used physical things to communicate love and forgiveness. The sacrifice of a lamb that would take away sin. The bread of Passover to remind you that He wanted fellowship and friendship and relationship with His people Israel. Time and time again, God uses physical things to bring about spiritual blessings. And I love John's Gospel. If you were to ask me, what's your favorite Gospel, I would say the Gospel of John. Not just because it bears my name. But I do like the Gospel of John because Jesus combines the physical and the spiritual a lot. He first heals a blind man, a man blind from birth, right? And then he talks to the Pharisees about how they're spiritually blind. Physical blindness is healed. Spiritual blindness is addressed. feeds people with 5 loaves of bread and the fish. He fills them with physical bread. And then he talks about how he is the true spiritual bread, the bread of life. You see that? I just love that. There's this kind of like almost double entendre, you know? And if we were in Bible study, I dig it deeper for you, you know? When Judas went out to betray Jesus and he left the group, it was night. All right, it's a physical thing. It's a nighttime. But it was also probably a spiritual darkness that was starting to encroach upon Jesus. That physical and spiritual is cool. And it should be that way in our daily life. The physical blessings that we enjoy are meant to be good gifts. But sometimes some of God's greatest gifts can become cruel taskmasters. But if you put God in the center, and that's what he's saying in this text, I am the bread of life. If you come to me, not just the church, but to me, you will have life and have it in the fullest. He said, you guys, all you're here for is the fact that you gorged yourself on all that bread. And you want more. That's literally what it says in the Greek, you know? Anybody know Greek? No? Good. Trust me, that's what it says. All right. But imagine here a banquet table. I couldn't put a banquet table here. They're all being used for pizza and the party afterwards. But imagine an 8-foot banquet table here. And then on this banquet table are all the things that we think are important, things that we gorge ourselves on, things that we consume, things that we collect, you know? I remember my sister, if she was here, she would put on that banquet table, if she still possessed it, her princess phone. Anybody remember those princess phones? They were pink, rotary. My sister was dying to have a princess phone, you know? I remember when I got a job, when the first thing I bought, Chris talked about my love of music started. Partially because of this, you know. I bought an 8-track player. Remember 8-track, you know? And do you remember Columbia House, you know? You know, for 1 penny plus $1.99 shipping, you got like 10 free 8-tracks. You had to buy 8 more at exorbitant prices, you know, over 2 years. But you got those. I remember those. I could put my 8-tracks right here. I could put my 8-track player here, you know. Some of you didn't have 8-tracks. You came just a few years later and there were cassettes, you know. You know. And because you had a cassette, you also made sure you always had a number 2 pencil nearby for when the tape jammed and you had to fix it, you know. Young people, they don't suffer like we do, you know, to hear music. They get everything on Spotify in an instant, you know. We had to work, you know, again, that tape to play, you know. That cassette player that you had could be here. Remember boom boxes, your first boom box, you know? A boom box back then was about the size, about half of this pew. Remember that? You know, you needed to put it on both shoulders to carry it around. You could put that boom box here today because that's been replaced by Spotify, right? Remember your first car and how much you wanted that car, you know? I want to ask you if we can't put the car on the table, obviously. Well, maybe we could, because it's all been smashed, right? Down to bare metal. But just imagine all those things on this banquet table that people gorge themselves on. They're all obsolete. Most of them are gone, right? All right. If I was to get one of my 8-tracks out and play it one more time, that little spongy thing would just, I wouldn't be able to hear music again, you know? And your cassettes would definitely need your attention. All those things don't last. Jesus said, stop working. Stop laboring is the word. Stop laboring for that which does not last. Rather, labor that for which the Father will give you and does last. And what's that? It's His favor. It's His love, His acceptance of you no matter what has happened in your past. He loves you. That's what you have at his banquet table, so to speak. And if you feed yourself on his love, then all these other good gifts can fall into place. It's an attitudinal change that you need. It's also the first commandment, right? We should fear, love, and trust in God. Love God above all things, you know? We can only do that if we know that we're loved first. We love because he first loved us, says the Bible, right? Chris said that I like music. I want to share with you a couple songs, words. I'm not going to sing. Nobody should suffer for that. Anyway, I don't have any musical talent. I play the radio. That's about it. But George Beverly Shea. Some of you would remember George Beverly Shea. I'm not a big George Beverly Shea fan. I grew to like the guy. I appreciate the guy. He was a singer for Billy Graham. My mother and father loved George Beverly Shea stuff, you know. But Bev is known for singing How Great Thou Art at all those Billy Graham crusades, right? And some other songs. But one of the other songs that he would sometimes sing is this song with these words. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be his than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by his nail-scarred hands than to be a king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus than worldly applause. I'd rather be faithful to his dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldly fame. Yes, I'd rather be true to his holy name than to be a king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything the world affords. That's a guy who wrote that song, and hopefully the man who sang that song, put in Jesus first. Everything else falls into place, you know? That's an old example. You know, Bev's no longer with us. He went by Bev. He died at the age of 104, still singing for Jesus to the very end. But a friend of mine named Glenn Kaiser, he grew up in Milwaukee. Two ladies from a local Lutheran church brought him every Sunday to Sunday school for a couple years. Early on, he said, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, right? And then they gave him a pocket New Testament. He says, I don't know what happened. He thinks one of the ladies died. So after a couple years, he stopped getting picked up, you know. And then he got into drugs and rock and roll and girls and sex and all that, you know. But at age 19, his soul cried out in hunger, you know. God, if you're real, you're going to have to show me who you are. And from 6 years prior, came back that wonderful verse. John, for God so loved the world. And that brought him back, you know. And he began to do Christian rock music. I have a T-shirt that says, Resurrection Band, music to raise the dead, which means they were very loud, but they also were very spiritual and raised people to life. He sang this, one of his early songs. You can have your fortune. You can keep your fame. Dope and sex ain't lasting, and money, it's just the same. You might worship music, and you might dig the blues, but tell me, what are you going to be doing when Jesus calls for you? I used to dig religion, but all those false prophets up and died. I used to worship my doping till my brains got up and fried. I used to worship knowledge. I thought knowledge would set me free, but I found that Jesus' love is quite enough for me. He's a man who learned to know the love of God that's so real that it's easier to put him first. And when you get Jesus in the center of your life as your forgiver, all the other things are good things, my friends. But they fall into the right place. They don't become gods or idols. My friends, one thing we need to learn, remember I used the word gorging before? just to share this story. I didn't share this with first service, my Uncle Bill took me to my first baseball game. It was a Chicago Cubs baseball game. I was more of a White Sox fan, but hey, this was going to be my first baseball game, and Wrigley Field and Fenway are the most gorgeous fields, and everybody should go see those fields. All the other ones are just baseball fields, but these places are iconic. Anyway, so we went to Wrigley Field. We were about 5 rows behind Cubs dugout, so I got to see pretty close Ernie Banks and Ron Santo, Billy Williams, and even though I wasn't a Cubs fan, I could tell you what the lineup was. It's Santo, Becker, Banks, Billy Williams and everybody. I could tell you Fergie Jenkins and Ron Huntley, all that. I could tell you everything, And it was a great experience. And while I was there, my uncle was so kind. My mom gave me some money, but I ran out of money because prices are too expensive at ballparks, But my uncle just made sure that whatever I wanted, I got, He said he would lend me the money. He's gone now, so I still think I still owe him $14. But anyway, and so while I was there, I had at least 4 hot dogs, and popcorn, and things like that. All that I wanted, Meanwhile, my mother was home watching the TV because the ball game was always on in the afternoon. Cubs only play day games, And she calculated roughly when the ball game was over and when we would be showing up. Half-hour drive, 15 minutes to get to the car, all that. So she figured out. So sure enough, when we got home, my mom had a steak that she had grilled out with potatoes. All right? And we sat down, and there was this beautiful steak and potatoes and corn, I think. And I went, ugh. Because I had gorged myself on 4 hot dogs. I had no room. And so by gorging on that which was inferior, I missed out on that which was superior. And I think that's God's word for all of us today. If you gorge yourself only on the things of this world, and you don't fill yourself with Jesus, the bread of life, you're going to miss out. And that's why Jesus often would just say the simple word, come. Come to me. And today, instead of a table full of junk that's in the junkyard now, or perhaps at rummage sales, right? You know what the price is of something at a rummage sale? The value of anything is the price you're willing to pay. Well, my friends, Jesus was willing to pay for you with his body and blood. That gives you a lot of value. And so today, instead of feast upon all these gadgets that are no longer with us, Jesus invites you to a meal. And we'll sing about how this meal is a foretaste of a heavenly banquet. Here at this meal, you get his forgiveness, his love, his acceptance, his promise to be with you always, even to the end of the age. Martin Luther would say, where there's forgiveness of sins, there's life. And so Jesus says, come. Come to me. Yeah, church is important, but come to me and have life, because I am the true living bread, and I will raise you up on the last day. In Jesus' name, amen. Now may there be a peace in your heart that comes from understanding all this, and may that keep your hearts and your minds fixed on Jesus, the bread of life. Amen. Let's rise for the creed, shall we?